So today I'll be doing part 2 of my overview review for Pokemon 2019 slash the Sword and Shield anime. And I'll have a link to part 1 in the description where I cover episodes 1 through 9. So in this review, if you're just interested in episodes 10 through 19, I'll just be going over the plot a bit, what I thought of the episode, my favorite part of the episode, and what it could possibly mean going forward. I won't go fully in depth in this review, but I will give just my quick thoughts on what I mentioned before. So episode 10 is called Dragonite's Paradise, Dragonair's Trial. So in this episode, Ash and Go head to Dragonite Island to find it. In this episode, they definitely did act more like lab assistants. We actually saw them doing research, like when they found Dratini's shredded skin. And they also questioned why Dratini and Dragonair evolve into Dragonite, which has hands, which was probably the main question of the episode. And that was also probably my favorite part of the episode, them questioning why, like, Dragonair, who doesn't have hands, evolves into Dragonite, who's a completely different color, even though it looks more like Milotic when it fully evolves. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that was probably the most relatable moment in the series so far, because Milotic is what you'd probably expect from the evolved form of Dragonair, but it's not. And them questioning why it has arms only for it to be answered later on in the episode was probably the best plot point of the episode, or at least one of them. The other major thing happening in this episode was Ash getting his first Pokemon of the series, and that being Dragonite. And I really liked Ash getting Dragonite because because of the way the series is structured, Ash isn't going to have time to train a bunch of unevolved Pokemon into battlers to battle, Leon, and just go through the Pokemon World Championships in general. So having his first Pokemon being Dragonite meant he's going to start off strong, essentially. The way Ash caught Dragonite was kind of to be expected, but I was still surprised he ended up with the Dragonite in the end. He helped the Dragonair that couldn't fly learn to fly, and then it evolved once more once it finally learned to fly to help save Ash from falling into the sea. So overall, that was a nice episode. I'd give it a solid 9 because of the research aspect, and then Ash training Dratini and slash Dragonair, and then catching Dragonite in the end. So overall, that was a great episode. So now for episode 11, Koharu, Yamper, and the occasional Gengar. So in this episode, we learn more about Koharu and her life, and we see her with her mom, her younger brother, who we haven't seen in the series so far. And I like how her mom has a similar hairstyle to her. We also get to see what Koharu looks like in the morning with the messy hair. And before this episode, I didn't really like Koharu that much because she seemingly didn't like Ash for no reason at all. I don't know if she's just like secretly shy or just doesn't like him. But after this episode, we see what she's like and what she goes through at school and at home. Because while Koharu was at school, we see that her classmates kind of just all assume that she's going to be a professor because her dad's a professor. And she doesn't even know what she wants to do herself. And having people trying to assume what she's going to do just bothered her. And that was kind of relatable because, people always expect you to do what your parents do, especially if, they're doing something great like a professor. And something else I noticed early in the episode is when they're describing Yamper, and it was kind of similar to how Koharu is if you just look at how she is, because they said Yamper only likes Yamper treats everybody coldly but Koharu in the family, and then Koharu kind of treats everyone coldly but Yamper when she's like just in general is what it seems aside from her family, of course. But I guess a more direct example would be how she treats Go versus how she treats Ash. So by the end of the episode, Koharu's mom just tells her that she can be whatever she wants to be. We also see Go, who flops when he got his 3 Wurmple that he got from Hoenn, didn't actually evolve. He was expecting one Beautifly and 1 Dustox at least, or vice versa, and instead he's getting 3 Dustox in the end. So that flopped. We also get Gengar's first appearance in the show, and it causes trouble for Ash. Well, not Ash, Koharu, and it tries to nearly kill her with a Shadow Ball, which was crazy. And overall, this was a good episode for Koharu. I hope we learn more later. And that was a nice episode. I guess I'd give this one like an 8.5 or a 9. Either way, it's a great episode. So, episode 12, Dynamax Battle Leon, the strongest of all. This episode, we kind of knew it was coming since like episode 9, so it was a highly anticipated episode. I really couldn't wait for this to happen. I think this is probably when the main plot starts kicking in after the first 11 episodes. And the first 11 episodes were used to establish the characters and the setting of the series. But from this point on, it felt more like they're establishing what's going to be the main plot, which will be Ash challenging Ash competing in the World Pokemon Championships. So it seems like they're finally setting up the plot for Ash because, Ash being a researcher, working at Professor Sakuragi's lab was a nice plot point and a change of pace, but that wasn't going to provide much battling, which wouldn't have done good to promote the games. So it does make sense that they're adding this in. Plus, we have the Battle Tower and Pokemon Sword and Shield. So I guess this was inevitable in some capacity. I guess it would have been kind of hard to create a plot for the series that isn't just completely random if Ash didn't have a goal. So in this episode, Ash and Go head to Galar to watch the World Championship match between Leon and Lance, which I was extremely hyped for. And I thought it was amazing that they not only added like a match for us to see, but the fact that it was between two champions. So this episode, pretty much like I was saying before, set up Ash's participation in the World Championships. And my favorite part of the episode was definitely Lance's entrance. I don't know why, but I feel like Leon was slightly different from his game counterpart. He seemed way more interested in showing off and putting on a show versus in the game where he's more interested in having a great battle. We kind of got him wanting a great battle, but we got a little bit more of him showing off in the anime version. Just a slight analysis. But there's also a chance that that part of his personality was lost in translation when it came over to the English version and they just turned him more heroic or something. So I don't really know if Cynthia participated in this, but I'm going to assume no. Because, Cynthia is widely regarded as the strongest champion. There's no way she would lose before at least making it to the finals. Not to mention, she's probably the most popular champion among all the champions of every region. Because she's like universally recognized as the strongest champions in the game. But that aside, I think they don't have her here. Aside from the fact that the Pokemon Company likes pandering to Gen 1, is because the last games before Sword and Shield were the Let's Go games. And so Lance is going to be the champion people are most familiar with. Lance and Leon. So I guess them doing this promotes the Let's Go games and Sword and Shield at the same time. And that's probably why we don't get Cynthia here. But I do think we may get a Cynthia appearance again at some point if we do end up getting Sinnoh remakes in 2021. That aside, the battle was great. I wish it was more than just the 1v1, especially since it's the World Championship match. But this wasn't as bad as Ash versus Gladion, and that was a 3-on-3. Ash versus Gladion wasn't bad. It just should have been more since it was the match that Ash finally became a champion officially. To me, the championship match was Ash versus Kukui. I think that's one of the top 3 battles in the entire series so far. But I still think this battle should have been more than just the one-on-one, especially since it's deciding who the world champion is, like the world championship match. And what's weird is that Ash participates in a battle with Biscuits later on, and I think that's like a 2-on-2 at least, right? A 2-on-2 or a 3-on-3. But this match, the finals, was only 1v1. I don't know, that's kind of weird, but I hope they rearrange it so next time it's at least a 3v3. But I definitely prefer a 6-on-6. So that was a great episode overall, and probably the first a 10 out of 10 episode in the series. I'm gonna say at least a 9.5. But this is probably the best episode the series has had to offer. So episode 13, Ash versus Leon, the Path to Power. So this was another great episode. Ash and Go beat Dynamax Dreadnought after Pikachu Gigantamaxes for the first time. It was kind of funny seeing Pikachu attempt to use Quick Attack, but he was extra slow. Then Iron Tail with like a sword or something. I thought that was funny. So they defeated, and then Ash challenges Leon after fanboying. And we also got an explanation of how the World Championship works in this episode. It seems like Ash has to get through the ranks until he makes it to the top 8. And then they face off in a tournament for the title. So when Ash finally gets to that Master Ball tier, there'll only be 7 other trainers plus him there. And if it's going into a best of, I guess, a top 8 bracket, Ash only has to beat, what, 2 people to get into the finals? And it's kind of early to say this, but I don't think they'll have Ash lose in the first or the second round. They'll probably want to get at least 3 battles of Ash, so that means he's at least making it to the finals against Leon. That's what I assume. I also don't know how this is going to factor in, but there is I don't know if there's a chance Ash will just battle in this tournament, end up losing, and then compete in the Galar League, and then face Leon again there for the win. I think that is a possibility. I also do think we'll get a returning character of some sort in the series, but I'll make a discussion video talking about that later. So in this episode, we got Ash versus Leon, which was kind of, it was all right, but you couldn't expect Ash to win this battle, especially since it was his first time Dynamaxing or Gigantamaxing in battle. So I'm not mad at this loss at all. And at the end of the episode, it was cool how we saw Ash versus Leon foreshadowing with the crowd in the background. So I think that 100% confirms the theory I just came up with, that Ash will at least make it to the championship match in some capacity. It'll either happen in the Pokemon World Championships or in the Galar League, because I do think we'll be headed back to gyms this region. I could be wrong on that though, but I do think it's still a possibility. I did think it was cool how Pikachu could just Gigantamax on its own, since it doesn't like going in its Pokeball. And now that I think about it more, I do think Ash will end up going to the gyms of Galar, because to Gigantamax Pokemon you have to be in the Galar region. So as far as we know, because I'm assuming they might add it in for Sinnoh remakes, but as of right now in the Pokemon world, it only exists within Galar. So Ash is going to have to train Pikachu to Gigantamax in the Galar region, and I think the best way to do that is by participating in gyms where there are guaranteed Dynamax spots. So overall, that was a great episode and definitely a solid 10. So yeah, I really enjoyed that episode. So episode 14, my first time in the Unova region, a raid battle in the ruins. So this episode wasn't too much compared to the last one, I guess. So Ash and Go head to the battle resort in Unova to battle a Titan, which is actually a giant Golurk. And I believe this is Ash's first time here at the battle resort, because the last time he went to the battle resort, or the battle resort was even mentioned, was in the Unova series in episode 23 and 24 in the Japanese version. And I'm pretty sure those episodes got banned. I can't remember why though. But if you go to Bulbapedia, you'll see why. I think it had another strange coincidence with real life events once again. We also get the first shiny hunter of the series in this episode. Ash also meets a ranger who helps him in a raid battle. And in the end, Go ends up catching Golurk in the raid battle. So I thought it was pretty crazy how Go ended up with the Golurk. He also got a Darmanitan. So the raid battle was pretty cool. Other than that, there wasn't much in this episode aside from Ash's return to Unova and Go catching another Pokemon. It was an okay episode. So episode 15, on a snowy day where Cubone's bone? Where is Cubone's bone? So this episode, Go, we finally get to see his family, since the institute is closed, he goes home. We have to see his mom, grandma. Well, his mom is a programmer and his dad is an engineer. And his grandma does karaoke tournaments. And I think it was nice getting to see Go's family and finding out what they're like, and that they're always too busy for him. And we get to understand what leads him to doing research all the time. And in the end, Go ends up getting Cubone after helping him find his bone, which was a really nice touch to the episode. So the review is getting kind of long, and I don't want this to drag on too long. So I'll just say I give this episode a 6 out of 10. Go gets another Pokemon, and we get introduction into his family. So episode 16, Ash's Curse. So the title screen for this episode was cool and all, and a nice change of pace. But in this episode, Gengar shows up again, and we find out its backstory and that his trainer abandoned it. And this was more than just the generic, this Pokemon got abandoned, Ash picks it up, and now we're buddies. Because the way Gengar's trainer abandoned it was definitely different from what we've seen. Because it told Gengar to wait there for 2 years, and then just never came back. And over the course of those 2 years, Gengar just built up anger and hatred towards people, which led to it nearly destroying its trainer with a Shadow Ball for the first time when it's seen it in 2 years. And I think that was just straight up cruelty to just leave it there for 2 years. You could have just released it or something. So Ash ended up teaming up with Gengar and then eventually catching it by the end of the episode, which I think was well deserved. I would have been upset if Go caught it, but I'm glad Ash caught it and has another strong Pokemon to add to his team. So this episode was definitely a 9 out of 10 for me because of how they demonstrated and showed how Gengar was truly created. Not that that's a great thing, but I think it was nice that they showed us what led to Gengar being how it was. So pretty good episode overall, and another Pokemon to Ash's team. So like I was saying earlier, Ash's team so far is pretty strong. I don't think they're gonna have time to show Ash training weaker Pokemon, aside from the fact that I think he's getting Lucario or Riolu later. But yeah, I think this was a pretty nice episode overall. So episode 17, Scorbunny's Fiery Kick. I was tempted to do an individual review for this episode because it was just that much of an interesting episode. But I'll go ahead and add this to the overview review. This was another Go episode, and it was more so focused on his relationship with Scorbunny, who wanted to master his fire type moves and become strong. And Go tried to tell it to just focus on moves it can use and fight in a way that's true to itself, which sounded nice. But Scorbunny wanted to get stronger and surpass his limits, while Go just wanted to settle. But in the end, Go understands how Scorbunny felt, and in the battle with Team Rocket, it battles against their new Choodle. And my favorite part of the episode was probably when Scorbunny pulls that move and then becomes one with Go, and then ends up evolving in a Raboot. And I love how the new the evolution animation was fire, blue fire, and that was probably the perfect payoff to the episode, because we saw Scorbunny struggling, and then Go not agreeing, Go just wanting to settle, and then Go understanding Scorbunny, which led to its evolution. So that episode was a solid 9 out of 10. So episode 18 is called Ash Joins in the Pokemon World Championship. So Ash finally decides to participate in the Pokemon World Championships, which has over 10,000 members. So it was about time. So Ash has his first vital match against Viscus or Biscus. The subtitles has it as Biscus, but Bulbapedia has it as Viscus, so I think I'll go with Viscus for now. In this episode, Ash battles against the substitute gym leader of Vermilion City, Biscus, because LT Surge is out training his electric type Pokemon, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ash goes up against him or other gym leaders later. And I'd love to see Ash or one of Ash's friends return, or rival of some sort appear later, but I'll talk about that in a discussion video later. We also find out that Ash versus LT Surge is a very talked about battle in the gym's history, basically a legend. And the battle was pretty cool. It was nice seeing Ash use his old unique style of battling with all the strategies, like Pikachu using Iron Tail in the ground to stop Raichu's Volt Tackle. And Gengar in its first battle was pretty great too. It was definitely as strong as it seemed in the last few episodes. And it was awesome getting to see Ash use a ghost type. Again, Ash, by the way, has now owned every single type of Pokemon, so I guess seeing him use Mr. Mime, I don't know if they counted that within Psychic. I don't think so, but we've seen Ash battle at least with every single style or type of Pokemon, which is pretty nice. Actually, I'm not 100% on Fairy, but I'm sure he's used at least 16 or 17 of the types. Either way, this was a nice episode. I give it a solid 8 out of 10. It didn't lack anything to the point where I would give it a lower score. It wasn't good, but it wasn't like super great. It was nice seeing the callback to Ash in his days battling against LT Surge. Was awesome, and this was Ash's first win in the World Championship. So a great episode overall. So episode 19, I'm finally here. It's called I Am Ditto. And this episode was kind of boring but entertaining at the same time. But if it's one thing this episode proved, it's that Team Rocket and Jessie aren't bad Pokemon trainers. So this episode was about a Ditto that was an actress, according to Jessie, even though Ditto is genderless. Not that it matters, but Ditto was struggling to transform into Gardevoir for its role. So it runs away and joins Team Rocket, and Jessie and Team Rocket help Ditto get its confidence back at the end of the episode. And I thought for sure Ditto would join Jessie, I was so sure, but that didn't happen. But it was still a nice episode. Nothing great, but nothing bad either, so I don't want to give it a good or bad ranking. So The series is going pretty well so far, and after re-looking at some of these episodes and having perspective, some of them seemed more entertaining or more interesting than I thought they'd be initially, and some really lacked something. For the most part, they added most of the first 19 episodes have done a great job establishing Go and who he is and what he wants to accomplish in the series, as well as Ash's plans for the series. It's been a nice change of pace so far, although I'd like to see Ash travel again. Seeing him become a lab assistant and furthering his knowledge on Pokemon has been great too. And my favorite moment of that so far has been episode 10, where we see him studying the Dratini, and I believe it was episode 2 or 3 when he's trying to figure out the mysteries of Ivysaur. I thought that was great too. So although I'd like to see him traveling again, I think this has been a nice change of pace in the series so far. So let me know what you thought of this overview review and the first 20 episodes of the series so far. I've been really enjoying them. They've been nice so far. I want to see where Ash is going next. So let me know what you thought of this overview review and the first 20 episodes in the comment section below. I'll be doing a review on episode 20 on Sunday or Monday, depending on when I get to it. But be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and bye.